Don't have that.
And you know what? On that, it was,
What?
see, the thing is, I was at that class last night too. He asked you a question. And you in fact didn't even answer the question. He asked you, you just started. You didn't even answer his question. That's why, see, it was challenging for you mentally because you couldn't answer his question.
What was
You
the
just
question?
shouted
What
some crap.
was the question?
It was the first day of class. What was it? What did he ask you? What was it? Remember? Does anyone remember? It was like, he asked you a question. So, like, how do you rate this? And then, what was it?
Johnny's like,
and you were like, okay, so you're in a 7. And then you didn't even answer his question. You just said something. And then you fell into it. You like stumbled upon some greatness that happened.
Stumbled
That's
upon.
what I'm saying.
Stumble.
So, yeah.
It's like the
that's
one
what
like I ran into.
You
brought it
up.
Man, you need to bring it for the people that aren't here. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll bring the red card.
I'll draw.
We got red, we might have red folders.
Yeah, red yellow.
Yellow and red folder. We were looking forward to seeing you because you got the yellow and red folders.
I will if you guys give me some of those.
Maybe if you have the Christmas.
Now you.
Alright,
They were giving
so
out.
here's what we have.
What about peanuts?
What we're discussing right now is we're discussing in order to do great things, you have to set greater expectations. And in order to do greater things, you have to set greater expectations. What does that mean to you?
Osmosis. I think I know.
Or explain what that means.
Is that a question?
Oh, me lo pedita.
Maybe get a Kit Kat, dog.
Yeah, too.
I have a class.
Dude,
You were in the student election of the.
Hey, let him answer.
You have to answer.
Let him
I'm
answer.
saying, I don't like when we lies.
Focus. Quit putting nuts in your mouth.
You got.
Yeah, one.
I know what that means.
I'll give you a Kit Kat for my.
Alright.
Don't mess with the red man, red haired man. Don't mess with this kind
I bought a whole thing for everyone.
You don't mess with-
Hey,
you don't mess with
What is Brian? Brian told me to do that. Brian, you do it. I don't have time to Brian. Brian, I'm so nice. I wasn't gonna use it, but.
Bro, what are you doing?
What movie is that?
Scary movie?
We're just trying to make some glory for you. You don't mess with. Hey, was that Kevin Hart?
Yeah, it was Kevin Hart. You know, it was a type thing they did to Kevin Hart.
Is it Big Little Man? They still not watching Big Little
I'll give you a water.
Alright.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you
The third one, huh?
Yeah.
It's like, what if the light's outside? It comes inside. It's a mice, bro.
Oh, dude, that's where you go, man.
You just think.
Oh, that's one person.
I said,
Is that that fat dude from like barbershop?
Yeah,
Dude,
Anthony.
he's so dirty.
That's like dreads. Anthony Anderson.
Who?
Anthony Anderson.
Oh.
Guy that came on Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that movie is hilarious.
Dude, he is hilarious in barbershop, dude.
Alright, you might not be able to get stuff projected, but we're just gonna go ahead. Alright, let's set some expectations. Because I wasn't able to get this started on time, we kind of just, we're gonna have to, work through this without using the screen until they can get the screen working. Because it takes us so long to really get going, I want you guys to get here as early as you possibly can. Because, you guys kind of get in here a little bit after 2, and then after you get in here, you kind of wound up, and then we got to get y'all focused and stuff like that. In addition to the fact that I'm just technologically illiterate, it seems to me. Because every single time I come to a different classroom, there's always something different to do to get the computer to work and project on the screen.
Maybe you should
So,
be here early.
huh?
Maybe you should be here earlier.
You know what, I would love to be here earlier.
Yeah, thanks.
I would love to, and I would suggest the same to you, that you would get here. So let's make a deal. I'll get here earlier to get this to work, and you get here earlier and we can start earlier. Is that a deal?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So, here's what we're gonna do. I want you guys, we started to discuss a little bit what this means. It means, and I got a few different answers. But here's the reality, fellas. It's not just, and what we're trying to do is, we want to make a correlation between the world of sports, because that's what you guys, how long have you guys been playing soccer? Let's ask that question first.
2 years.
2 years, you've only been playing 2 years? Okay. You've been playing since you were 8?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody?
Me too.
Anybody been playing longer since they were, or before 8 years old?
6.
Okay, since they were 6. Anybody been playing, started playing soccer after the age of 8? Okay, how old were you when you were
Probably like 12.
12?
15. I was like
8, okay. So, soccer is a part of you guys, it's a part of who you are, it's what you know. Is that a fair statement since you've been playing for so long?
Yeah.
Okay? You can use soccer to make a correlation between a lot of the things that you guys want to do and want to accomplish in life. And we talked about that a little bit in the other class that we've had. We talked about it last week. We can take that same discipline and some of the same challenges that we face on the soccer field, and we can utilize the challenges that we face on the soccer field in life. And one of the things that you guys did was, you guys immediately related this statement to soccer, right? Because it's a part of who you are. I was the same way whenever I played football. And what I've done is I've taken the disciplines associated with football, and I've utilized those disciplines in my professional life and also in my personal life. Okay? So, great expectations. So I'll use myself for an example. Whenever I started this company, shot down. Tried to get into the high schools wouldn't let me in. I'm still trying to get into some of the Division I schools. You know, that's a challenge. I'm here at some of the community colleges. But this wasn't something that happened for me overnight. So what you have to do is, you have to raise the bar, and you have to set expectations. In order for me to take it one step further, I have to set greater expectations. And so I've taken the thing, because here's the thing, guys. Football was something that was never easy for me. You know, when I was, and we went through the timeline, and we're gonna talk about that today for you guys that weren't here on Thursday. We talked about some of the things that have developed you and that have formed you. Okay, and so some of the things that I experienced and that I went through when I was growing up, some of the challenges that I faced growing up. That's what made me who I am. That's what gives me the motivation, and that's what allowed me to get to the point of where I am today. All those challenges that I faced at an early age. Now, the one thing that I'll say about athletes, athletes that have had it easy all their lives, athletes that have always been the best player on the team, athletes that haven't been challenged, they're some of the ones that give you some of your greatest issues. Okay, the guys that have always been the best on the team. So let's talk about that for a second. People that always had it easy. People that always that were always the better players. Can you guys think of some of the players, maybe football, basketball, soccer, anybody that you might see today that has some challenges and they can't seem to get out of their own way? That's what I refer to it as. You got a lot of people that can't seem to get out of their own way. Can you guys think of anybody? We talked about a couple of people. Anquan Golden.
Michael Vick.
Michael Vick. Okay. Anybody else?
good. People getting in their own way.
People that get in their own way.
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss, perfect example.
Airline.
Allen Iverson. Okay. Why do you guys say? Let's talk about Randy Moss. Let's talk about Allen Iverson. Why do you guys say that Randy Moss seems to continue to get in his own way?
He just doesn't shut up.
Doesn't shut up his mouth.
But
Okay.
he wasn't always like that, was he?
Yeah.
They said that he did some things at the high school level. Got kicked out of Florida State. Ended up you guys know that Randy Moss signed with Notre Dame out of high school, right?
Right.
Okay. Then after he signed with Notre Dame out of high school, he ended up going to Florida State. Then after he was kicked out of Florida State, he ended up going to Marshall. Okay. So what do you think? Do you think that just started with all those issues?
Well, I know all about that, but.
Yeah.
I don't watch.
So what do you guys think? You guys think you think that that's something that just started with him having to leave Notre Dame and then kicked out of Florida State and then going to Marshall? And then he ends up getting drafted by Minnesota. Then he ends up going to the Raiders. Then he ends up leaving the Raiders. Then he ends up with the Patriots. Then he ends up with the Vikings. A couple of weeks later, 4 weeks later to be exact, now he's with Tennessee Titans. Is there a history there of issues?
Big history.
Big history, okay. They said, I won't say they said, what's the coach's name that used to coach at Notre Dame? The older gentleman?
Really good.
Yeah, Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz said that he was, okay, now just think about where Lou Holtz has been. He was at Notre Dame, right? Just think about how long Lou Holtz has been around, right? Lou Holtz said that he was the best football player that he had ever seen coming out of high school. Lou Holtz has coached some Heisman winners. I know he coached Tim Brown. I can't remember if Rocket Ismail won the Heisman or not, but Rocket Ismail was a pretty good football player in the either early 90s or late 80s, I can't remember. But for Lou Holtz to say that Randy Moss was the best football player that he had ever seen, you know how many players that he's probably seen and scouted? And he was at Notre Dame when Notre Dame was a powerhouse. And for him to say, and by the way, Lou Holtz loves Randy Moss. Lou Holtz says that Randy Moss is a really nice guy. He said he remembers the time whenever he went to visit him at his house to recruit him and he said he remembers the atmosphere, if you will. He said his mother was sitting in a chair. He said that he was sitting on the arm of the seat that his mother was sitting in, arm of the chair that his mother was sitting in, and he said he had his arm around his mother. Okay, he said he's the nicest guy. Anytime he asked Randy to do something for him, he said he always does it when it involves kids and stuff like that. Now I have another statement that we're going to talk about as well whenever we get going, and it's about being a nice person. Does a nice person mean that they're always a good decision maker? Just based on what Lou Holtz said about Randy Moss, really nice guy. He does whatever I ask him to do and ask him to get involved with kids. But based on Randy Moss's history, is it fair to say that he has some decision-making issues? Yeah. Okay, and so that's where I want us to go with this. One of Randy, actually I take that back. It wasn't one of Randy Moss's teammates, but somebody else made a statement about Randy Moss, and it was something along the lines of, he's 30 years old. At 30 years old, we shouldn't be having this conversation.
That wasn't one of his teammates.
I don't know if that was Chris Carter or not. I think it was somebody else.
It was.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The point being, as far as you know, him saying that there's no way that he should be, that they should even be having this conversation, is you got to get to the point where you set certain expectations of yourself and you just know better. And I don't think that Randy Moss is one of those people that just don't know better. One of the other statements that was made, and we're going to talk about accountability also, maybe next week, because there's no class on Thursday. Not one person stood up or went to the caterer's defense when Randy Moss had his meltdown moment, if you will. Okay, whenever he yelled at the caterer. Not one player on that team. Thank you.
So,
That's perfect.
That's perfect?
Yes, sir. It comes down over there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Thank you so much.
Good.
I appreciate it.
Good.
Not one person stood up. If you guys were all together and somebody did something that was out of line, that was inappropriate, that was unnecessary, every single one of you guys should be about ready to not only slap him, but to hold him accountable. Okay? But the problem with Randy Moss not being held accountable is, I'm gonna go out, I might get in trouble for saying this, because this is being recorded, is if Randy Moss doesn't first, actually I won't say he won't, so I'll say if Randy Moss does not take responsibility for his own actions, Randy Moss can't be held accountable by anybody. Does that make sense? So if he's not willing to take responsibility for his actions and his behaviors, how can somebody else hold him responsible for those actions or behaviors? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why the word responsibility and accountability are so like this, are so tied together. Okay? So last week where we left off talking about the complex timeline. Okay? Did you guys take the time at all to do any other timeline stuff? You forgot? No. Okay. So it's called complex programming. Okay? So when we talk about complex programming, let's revisit this a little bit. What we talked about last week was some of the reasons why you end up reacting to situations the way that you react, why you respond to situations the way that you respond, how you process different information and things like that. A lot of that stuff is really based on the premise of complex. Okay? And so when we talk about the word complex, it's a group of repressed desires and memories that exerts a dominating influence upon our personality. It's an exaggerated reaction or preoccupation with a subject or a situation. It's the sum of factors, okay, characterizing a disease or condition. What sum of factors have affected and influenced our personality and causes us to have an exaggerated reaction to people, to ideas, or a situation? We were just talking about Randy Moss, right? Exaggerated reaction. Was that an exaggerated reaction to how he reacted to that situation? Okay, so what is it about him? It's probably time for him to revisit some of the things that he went through and some of the things that he experienced growing up. And I don't know that anybody has taken the time to do that with him. Okay? So what I'm trying to get you guys to do is I want you guys to revisit some of the things that you guys may have experienced and gone through, because I've done it for myself. Okay? And so what I've done is I went through a timeline and I've identified some of the things that make me react the way that I react to certain things. And we talked about that last week. Okay? And so what I wanted you guys to do is I wanted you guys to do the same thing. I don't want you guys to have to share it with each other because you guys may not be comfortable enough doing that. And you don't even necessarily have to share it with me. But at some point you're going to need to sit down and you're going to need to do take inventory of yourself. Does that make sense? Everybody has to take inventory of themselves. Because the other thing that we talked about last week in one of the classes, I can't remember which day it was, but we talked about why is it that we have some of the challenges that we have, okay, and why we act the way that we act, okay, and I can't remember who answered that, but I like the response that you guys gave last week, and so you guys. Oh, what we were talking about is, taking the time to really introspect and take a look at ourselves and to make sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to do. How many people take the time to look at themselves and do that? And one thing that we said was, everybody knows that they need to do it, but does everybody do it? And somebody said, no, not everybody does it because it's hard to do, and we know we should, but we don't. Do you guys remember us talking about that in the class?
It was Johnny that answered it.
It was Johnny? Okay. And so I like the fact that you were very forthright in that statement, but the reality is, if you don't take the time to visit why you are the way that you are, self-inventory is that much harder. So we got to start here first. And then there's actually something else that we have to go, that we have to visit, and that's this right here, answering the tough questions. What's occurred in my life that has brought me to the point that I have these challenges? What needs to happen in order for me to move beyond this? How do I recreate a brand new me? And am I struggling with decision making, particularly good decision making? Write those 3 statements down. Write those 3 statements down. And I want you guys to take the time to think about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take about 5 minutes. Okay? It's almost 2:45. So at 2:50, we'll start. I'm gonna stop you guys. So write those 3 statements down first. Think about those statements, and then we're gonna do something else. I want everybody to remain quiet because not everybody can function the same way. Not everybody can think while there's a bunch of noise. So in order for us to be respectful to how everybody is able to process information, I'm asking you guys to be quiet so everybody will be able to concentrate. No, I just want you guys to think about those statements. Think about, can you guys answer these questions? Can you guys answer to yourself, not out loud, but can you answer to yourself what's occurred in your life that has brought you to the point that you have some of the challenges that you may have? Think about some of the challenges that you may have. Some of you may not have any challenges. That's okay. Just be honest with yourself. The other thing is, what needs to happen so that you can move beyond those challenges? If you do have those challenges, how do you create a brand new self? How do you guys recreate a brand new you? And then the other thing is, are you struggling with decision making? Are you struggling with being able to make good decisions? Okay? So those are questions that you guys have to just really take a look at yourselves and answer, not to answer out loud. Okay? So did you guys think about that stuff yet? I mean, it's really takes more than 5 minutes to really do, but for the sake of time, 5 minutes. Okay? And then the other thing, if you guys have taken the time to think about it and you already have answered that question to yourself, here's what I want you guys to do. On a scale of 1 to 10, okay, I want you guys, a 10 being, okay, that's it. Let me rewind, let me go back. If you guys were by yourself, you had no phone, you had no ability to interact with anybody else, if you had no TV, no computer, no PlayStation, no video games at all, nothing. It's just you on a remote desert island, okay? It's just you watering a palm tree, okay? How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10?
1.
Okay? In terms of you being comfortable just being there by yourself. Okay, a 10 saying, I love being by myself. I think that I'm a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. I don't need anybody else. I'm cool with spending time to myself, to my own thoughts and all kind of stuff like that. And then a 1 meaning, I hate being by myself. I don't like being by myself. I'm about to try to jump into a shark's mouth so I won't have to continue to go through this because you're out at the ocean, okay? Palm tree, ocean. Close your eyes, think about that. You're leaning against a palm tree, no books to read, no nothing, okay? You might be able to write in a journal, okay? But no books to read, no nothing. It's just you to your own thoughts, okay? How would you rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, so take the time to think about that after you've thought about this stuff that's on the board, after you've thought about what I just said. On a scale of 1 to 10, what number would you give yourself? Without anybody else seeing, don't show those numbers to anybody else. Write that number down. Write that number down. Wait a minute, before you write it down, really think about it. Close your eyes. Picture this in your mind. Close your eyes, everybody close your eyes. Close your eyes. Don't be scared. I'm not gonna bite you guys. I'll make sure nobody kisses you while you're not looking. Okay? Make sure of that. And really take a minute to write down that number, or think about that, and then we'll write down that number. I'll give you guys about a minute to think about that. Don't fall asleep though. More seconds. guys can write your number. I'll put you guys out of your misery. I won't take you out. You know, I'll let you guys. You don't have to be quiet. I'm sure that's tough. Okay. So, if you haven't written the number, write the number. Keep the number to yourself. It says a lot about what you guys, how you guys see yourself. Okay? And it says a lot about, it'll be a strong indication as to what you guys may want to do to get yourself to the number that you'd like to be at. How many people are away from the number that they'd like to be at? Raise your hand if you're away from the number you'd like to be at on a scale of 1 to 10. Everybody's at their ideal number. So everybody's a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Over right now.
Yeah, that's what I like, guys.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about this for a second and let's get some clarity and shed some light on this, okay? I have a program called Under Construction. Okay? Under construction means that we never remain the same. We're always doing something to improve who we are and where we are in life. Okay? And so as people, we talked about it a little bit last week, being a finished product. Remember last week we talked about, has there ever been a time that you guys have purchased something from the store and you had to return it because it wasn't ready? It goes on all the time. What's the company who does the iPhones and all that stuff? They put out stuff all the time, guys, that's not a finished product. But because what's so great about that company is when they put stuff out to market, they put it out right away because it creates a buzz. And that, but you know how everybody's always at the store to get that product, okay? And so every time they put a product out, is there usually a problem with it? Absolutely. There's usually a problem with the product that they put out. Be it the phone, be it the pad, be it the computer. How many people have you guys heard, or how many times have you guys read something that said that there was a problem with one of those products? Every single time, right? Numerous people have done it, right? Well, it's not quite a finished product. We're no different. We're no different from the standpoint of, we're not a finished product. But because of the people that we interact with on a regular basis, this is what they get. They get an unfinished product. So we're constantly what? Under construction, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? So, do you guys hope to get to a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay? So in order, how far away from you guys, how far away from a 10 are you guys on a scale of 1 to 10? Halfway? Okay? Now, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to speak on behalf of that company that puts out that product. They try to get their product as close to being a finished product as possible, but they know that it's presentable to the public, to the point where it's functionable, right? Are there a lot of people in society that aren't functionable? Okay? That probably can't function very well in society? Okay? So, although they may not be a 10, and although we may not be a 10, and although we're constantly under construction, how close to a 10 should we be on a scale of 1 to 10? Pretty darn close, right? Pretty darn close? Especially when we take into consideration that we're constantly goal setting in numerous areas of our life, okay? And we're gonna get into goal setting also. We're gonna talk about that because you should be goal setting in multiple areas of your life, not just school, not just soccer, not just finances, you know, stuff like that. We should be goal setting in multiple areas of our life because we're not just soccer players, right? That's not who we are, right? We're not just students, right? That's not who we are, right? Okay, so we're more than that. And since we're more than that, And since we want to be great in multiple areas of our life, we should have goals in those multiple areas. Fair to say? Okay? So, when we talk about complex programming, the timeline. Now I want you guys, like I said, guys, this is the part of the class or the training or whatever that's the least fun, because you got to take a look at yourself. Nobody enjoys taking a look at yourself, right? I don't mean you guys are ugly. That's not what I mean. He is. What I mean is, we don't like taking the time to deal with our best. Let me tell you who's worse than us, worse than most of us. Adults. Because adults are supposed to have everything intact, right? Adults, shame on one of us, or shame on a student to say to an adult, you don't have your stuff together. How many adults get offended whenever somebody really young says something like that to them, right? They get really offended. And that's why I always like being honest and upfront with you guys. I said that from the first time that I was able to meet you guys. I'm never going to pull any punches. I'm never going to hold anything back. I'm always going to be forthright with you guys. You guys talk about, I think in you guys this terminology is keeping it real, right? Okay? I'm too old to keep, I don't sound cool when I say keep it real. I don't sound cool. But that's what I mean, man. The folks that, struggle with it the most, struggle with taking a look at themselves the most are adults. Because we're supposed to have everything intact. We're supposed to be there. We're supposed to be, we're supposed to have arrived. Okay? So, based on a statement that I made earlier, if we're constantly under construction, no matter what age you are, you haven't arrived yet. It's an ongoing process. We should constantly evolve and constantly get better, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't matter how old we are. We're constantly getting better. So, can you guys do me a favor? Like this is like really important. For me actually, it's more important for you. Can you guys, since we don't have class on Thursday, can you guys do the timeline, please? Right now.
Oh.
You don't have to do it right now. No, you don't have to do it right now.
The next class.
Yeah, for next Tuesday.
For my life?
Yeah, for your life, from the time that you were born, up until the day that the moment, the second that you've done this. You guys will do the timeline. Okay? Remember, we talked about last week birth order. If you ended up being born into a sibling, if you will, so if you had an older sibling, how that may have affected you. If you were the oldest and you were the firstborn, and then you had siblings later, because I can tell you, I wasn't excited when my siblings came. I was 4.5 years. I was like, I got this. I'm gonna be an only child, 4.5 years later, here comes my brother. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, you kidding me? This dude, I gotta grow up this dude now. Yeah, who is this guy? Yeah, we need to return him to sender, okay? Trying to get him back. Yeah. I was hoping we could do that. Cartoons do that to you. You see the little bird flying. I think, is it a pelican? Is that what it is? Stork. See, you guys are smart. You guys are geniuses. Delivering the baby. Deliver the baby. You think that you can send it back, right? I can't. I was only 4. I thought I could send the kid back. But I love him to death now. So I want you guys, can you guys all agree to do that for me, please? Yep. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Because it's gonna say a lot. It's gonna say a lot about you, you're gonna discover a lot about who you are. Okay? We're not gonna go through the whole, through this whole clip or, slide. But there's a statement that I really want you guys, the word swag or swag. Okay? You guys hear that a lot, right? What'd you just say?
I got a lot.
I got a lot of that. Okay? Now, listen. I love that term. I love swagger. I love swag. But here's where it's a problem, fellas. Swagger is a great thing, but here's where it becomes a problem. It can become a problem whenever it causes us to compromise what we know is right. Okay? If we compromise what we know is right in an attempt to please other people, that's a problem. Would you guys agree or disagree? Agree? Okay. Who disagrees? Anybody? And then the next thing is, swag is an ill-fated attempt at creating a perception for our peers and anybody else that we're attempting to put on a show for. Have you ever thought about it in that way? No? Yes?
What, that people do that to show off, or what?
They do it in an attempt to create a perception for their peers or anybody else that they're attempting to put on a show for. Okay? I just want to give you guys things to think about. I want you guys to see things from a different perspective. And if you guys can allow me to see things from a different perspective, I'm open to that as well. Okay? This is a give and receive kind of interaction. Okay? I want this to be to be that way. I want you guys to interact with me. I want to interact with you. You know what that's called? Dialogue. Okay? And so I want you guys to be able to give me something different. I want you guys to help me to see things from a different perspective as well. So if there's anything, once again, using our red and our yellow card, okay, that I still haven't got yet. Some big old cards, right? If there's anything that you guys don't agree with, red card, yellow card, right? Okay?
I just got a question.
Okay.
Go ahead, finish.
Go ahead, I'm good.
Where'd you get that definition? Just my personal opinion.
I didn't get it from anywhere.
Just made it up.
I based it on what I see.
Oh, okay.
It's opinionated. It's very opinionated.
That's what I want to know. Because to me, that wouldn't be swag.
What is it?
Just put a face on it.
Put a face on it. I agree.
That's my opinion. I don't know my people want to
Like,
yeah. Swag means just the face for you. You know what I mean? That's your swag.
Yeah.
For example, if you're dressed really not turned out, that's your swag. My swag, I'm just sweat right now. I'm just posting and chilling.
Right.
Opie's, I mean, swag is just.
What are we talking about? Who is Opie? Okay.
What about Rob?
Rob.
And Rob is just. Everyone has their own. That's my personality. That's swag.
Okay.
What do you say about bear shirt?
Oh, the very sure says.
So, now that's the thing. Now I'm glad you brought that up. And the reason why I'm glad you brought that up is because everybody's personality is going to be different, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what's swag.
Okay? And so because everybody's personality is different, because everybody has their own unique identity and all those things, that's what I'm trying to get you guys to do. I'm trying to get you guys to embrace your own identity. Because one of the things that we talked about in terms of developing a good decision maker, you have to have a strong what?
Will.
Self what?
Confidence.
Self-confidence. Self-identity. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you won't try to take on a personality or an identity that's not your own. I'm glad you brought that up. This is what makes this so great, fellas. It's because it gets us thinking. It gets us conversating. It gets us to have dialogue. That's why I don't want this to be the traditional class, because I want you guys to give me your thoughts, because it opens up the room to what everybody else might be thinking as well.
All right.
So I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay?
Wire in.
So when we talk about that, so to follow up what he said and to reinforce what you just said, the statement below, individuals that's described just above, they have security issues, they have self-identity issues, they have self-confidence issues, right? That's based on what you're saying swag is. It's your own identity. If somebody is doing something to impress somebody else or to put on a show for somebody else, then they're having an identity crisis, right?
I think you gotta question yourself then.
you're not being yourself.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I want you guys to understand.
no, it's the truth. That's all I've always thought about it like that. If I got a question, how you act, is that really how you act? You know?
Absolutely.
That's just what I've always thought.
Absolutely.
About myself.
Absolutely. So, what ends up happening when you get in that type of situation, when we lack self-confidence, when we lack self-identity, we're blown to and fro is how the phrase goes. We blow with the wind. It's like the blind leading the blind. Can two blind people lead each other? Probably not. Not really.
They could be happy together though.
They could be happy together, and that goes back to what we talked about last week also.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. That the Pollyanna bubble that we talked about last week, where it's a
Randy Moss.
yeah, we did use him as an example, but it's a I can't remember the exact terminology, but you create this false sense of reality, if you will.
Oh yeah.
You talked about
those
that.
players in the locker room, like how T.O.'s like
Absolutely.
he thinks he's a shit.
Absolutely. Okay.
Did you see him last night?
I did.
Okay. So, I got a story of a young man. He was without a strong self-identity, had very little self-confidence. He was easily influenced. He crumbled under peer pressure, and he sought heavily for social acceptance. Okay? This is a guy in high school, didn't have a very strong self-confidence, and all he wanted to do was just be socially accepted. And so, there are people, guys, that really struggle with who they are, and they do things that's outside of their character, that's outside of who they really are, because they just want to be accepted socially. Does anybody in here know someone who was like that? Who struggled with that?
Yeah, I know people.
Accepted?
Yeah, who just did whatever it took to be socially accepted.
Like trying to.
Albert.
Trying too hard. Absolutely. Trying too hard. So, guys, when you think about it, this is why children are under the watchful care and supervision of a responsible adult or a guardian. Okay? Guardians are supposed to give us vision, they're supposed to give us direction, and they're supposed to speak life into us. Because a lot of times we're still being molded so that we can develop our own identity and different things like that. Okay? It's called transition, it's called evolution, and it's called advancement. Okay? Reality is, we talked about it a little bit earlier, there are adults that continue to suffer from a depleted self-confidence and a faulty self-identity. True statement, based on what we just talked about?
Yeah.
Okay? So, revisiting the tough questions again. What has occurred in your life that has brought you to the point that you have the challenges that you have? What needs to happen in order for you to move beyond that? And how do you create a brand new self? And are you struggling with decision making? Okay? Talked about under construction a little bit. Introspect. The basis of that, of introspecting and being under construction, the foundation for that is decision making, guys. You have to constantly ask yourself, are you okay with what you see? Actually, I want you to write these questions down. You don't have to do the under construction part. You don't have to do the introspection. Start with the self-check or soul search. It's never ending. Okay? Self-check and soul search is never ending. Can you guys see that, or is it too small?
It's a good one.
It's too small? Better? Is that better? Can everybody see it in the back?
Yeah, I can see it. Which one is it?
Start with this self-check or soul search is never ending. Self-check and soul search is never ending. Right here. Yeah. So the things that you have to constantly ask yourself. Constantly ask yourself, am I okay with what I see? And it's not a matter of if you're okay with what you see on the outside, but it's an internal investigation. How do you view yourself? And how do you view your self-worth? I used to work with a gentleman, so you guys can write and listen at the same time. Some of you guys may be able to, some of you guys may not. But I used to work with a gentleman who was in his 40s at the time. And I was, at the time, this was about 6 years ago. I was like just turning 30. And this gentleman, every time he talked about himself or anything associated with himself, it would always be about the fact that he drove an SL 500 Mercedes, how he had a Harley, how his wife was a lawyer, and how his best friend was one of the top psychologists or psychiatrists or something like that in the world, and how he had written a book.
Was he rich?
Was the guy that I worked with rich? He was pretty comfortable. He wasn't rich because, yeah, he wasn't rich because he had a gambling problem. He actually would spend, literally, he probably would spend about $100,000 a year just gambling.
Not because he wanted more money or because that was fun.
Because he had a problem with fun. He had an addiction to gambling. He had a gambling addiction. I'm sorry. I was just.
If you're wealthy enough to gamble, is that wrong then?
And it's fun.
I'm not. What I'm getting at, you guys, the only reason I even mentioned it is because you guys asked, was he rich?
Right.
And so I was trying to put it in perspective.
So you're saying he
Story,
would,
you guys.
I mean, you'll never see me go gamble because I don't have any money. But if I had money, maybe I would.
Okay. So the point though is this. When I said that, that was every time he described himself, that's how he would describe himself, and anything associated with himself, it was always his car and yada yada yada. He owned a paint company, is what he did. Yes, a painting company. Okay. And I was trying to get him to understand that every time you describe yourself, describe you. Don't describe the things that you have or the people that you're associated with or any of those things. I want you to describe yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But he was never able to do that because he didn't have a strong self-worth. His self-worth, his worth was based on the people that he knew, the woman he was married to, and the things that he did.
Anything that brought him.
Nothing about himself.
Maybe he has nothing.
Huh?
Maybe he has nothing.
Internally, he may have had nothing. You know what I mean? And so, those are some of the things that we have to think about when we talk about our own personal self-worth. You want me to make it bigger? You're squinting.
Can't see. I can read it. I was listening in front of Montreal had those chairs all over and Scott had his foot up. Asshole.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes. Took you watts to hear. So thick.
So then the next one. After self-worth, who am I? Who am I? Not your name, not my name is Daniel, that's who I am. But who are you internally? Who have I been called to be? You guys are, boy, once you guys get out of college, that's when life gets real. So you guys got to start figuring out what have you been called to be? What have you been called to do? Okay. What sort of person have I been called to be? And then the other question is, what sort of person do you desire to be? And does the person that you've been called to be match that desire? And if it doesn't, how do you align the two? How do you make those two line up? Are you afraid to be true to yourself? Do you feel the need to entertain others in an attempt to deflect who you really are? That was that. In fact, that statement right there. That gentleman that I worked with, he was always trying to be funny. Always trying to be funny. Always trying to, make jokes and laugh and all kind of stuff like that. Could have been a couple of things. It could have been the pain that he was really feeling internally and all the things that he was going through. And it also could have been he was just trying to deflect what he was really feeling and who he really was and what's really going on with him. It's a way for people it's a way for him to keep people shut out and not really show his true feelings and what he's really dealing with. Okay? Do my actions show my strength? Meaning, do your actions, do your behaviors reflect the fact that you're willing to stand up for what you know is right? Okay? Do you have the strength to take a stand for what you believe in? And then the other question is, do you compromise? Are you compromising the opportunities that you have been given? And are you compromising your future in an attempt to increase and strengthen your self-worth? Or at the very least, how you want others to see you? Like, these are all like questions that you guys, have to answer for yourself. So when you guys are doing the timeline and all kind of stuff like that, you guys got to visit all that stuff. Okay. Anybody need more time to write that? No? No.
Yeah, you can go down. Like that.
But that was huge, right?
You said I read this from too.
Permission Hill. Okay, so what we talked about a little earlier. Why nice is never enough. Okay? It's never enough to just be a nice person. Okay? We should be nice people, but being nice, it's just not enough.
Yes,
Okay? You have to come face to face with reality. You have to look yourself in the mirror. You got to be truthful with yourself. Okay? Some people avoid that at all costs. Some people avoid, like we talked about it before, some people don't like to take a look at themselves, take a look at who they are, and all kind of stuff like that. Some people don't like to be truthful with themselves. And some people avoid it. They do everything that they can to keep themselves. You guys know people that always constantly keep themselves busy? They have to keep themselves busy. Okay? There may be something, to that. There may be a reason why they have to keep themselves busy, not just to be busy. Okay? This avoidance has cost people things of little value as well as things of great value. Okay? Most recently, a young man who was just getting ready to start his life and play football at Notre Dame, he lost his life as a result of poor decision making. There was a gentleman, this kid was he was on spring break, just this past spring. Took a trip somewhere, I can't remember. He was a high school All-American, played offensive line. He signed to go to Notre Dame. He fell off of a balcony at a hotel. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah. Was it drunk?
There's some alcohol involved. He was 18. 18 years old, we shouldn't have been drinking. It's against the law. Okay? So, something that could have totally been avoided. And not only that, it could have been that he was horse playing. It could have been that there was a couple of guys out there on the balcony, just goofing off and messing around, and He might have been showing off, you know, doing something like this, you know, just acting like he was gonna fall, and, you know, that time he really did fall. But when you have alcohol involved, and you got a bunch of people out goofing around, as opposed to saying, hey, man, you know, what we're doing here, is it really worth it? You gotta surround yourself with people that's gonna bring out the best in you. And we're gonna talk about that next. Surrounding yourself with people that's gonna bring out the best in you. Okay? And if you don't surround yourself with people that's gonna bring out the best in you, then you might end up with a situation like this. Now, I'm not saying that was what happened with him, but in all likelihood, let me relate it to my own self personally. Okay? That's what I'll do. I didn't always surround myself with people that brought out the best in me. It wasn't until later that I started surrounding myself with people that brought out the best in me. I ran with knuckleheads. Okay? Growing up, I ran with knuckleheads. Every single knucklehead that I ran with, every one of them has been in jail. Every single one. Okay? From the time that I started playing ball at about age 9, all the way up until I was about 15, 16 years old. And then I met a young man who changed my life for the better for the rest of my life. Okay? His dad did well. They were one of the first minorities that I met who was not an athlete, who did very well for himself, financially, had a really good job working at the local phone company or what have you, and was like an executive for that company. The young man actually ended up being a high school valedictorian of our high school, and he wrestled, and he was like the class president or something like that. But he showed me, he was one of the first people that really showed me you can balance life out, you can do well academically, and you can be an athlete. Okay? All the other guys that I ran with, they weren't able to, and I wasn't at the time, I wasn't able to comprehend that. Okay? That you don't have to be a knucklehead to be an athlete. Okay? And it wasn't until I met him that I really started to say, okay, I see how this is supposed to work. So you gotta surround yourself with people that's gonna bring out the best in you. Okay? We're gonna get into that. Okay? So accountable, responsible. You talked about setting the standards, setting expectations, and all that stuff. You gotta set, when we talk about accountable and being responsible, like I said, those two words, they go hand in hand. Those two words can never be separated from each other. You gotta set a standard, you gotta own up, and you have to expect others to do the same. If this is gonna be the person that you are, if you're going to take responsibility for your actions, if you're going to hold other people accountable, if other people are going to hold you accountable, right away, up front, you have to set expectations, and you have to set a high standard of expectation. Okay? And that's something that has to be discussed with you and your peers right away. Okay? So how does that apply and how does that relate? Your choices, and I want you guys, here's what we're going to do. I want you guys to discuss this statement. Your choices add up to your life. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you can either come up front or you can go to the back. I'll let you guys figure that out. We're going to go half. We're going to split this. And you three are going to talk about it. You three are going to talk about it. You two are going to talk about it. And then you two, and then you two. And each group that I just put together, what you guys are going to do is you guys are going to obviously do what? Pick one what? Representative to speak on behalf of the group. Okay? We know you're not going to speak on behalf of the group. You never speak on behalf of the group. We always try to get you to.
Where's Curly?
And that's what I was just about to ask.
Where's Fernando?
Yeah, where's your partner at?
JC.
Partner.
Hey, where's
Your homeboy.
Where's Fernando?
You guys always do the pause the whole thing, you know, if you say partner, you got to.
What are you talking about? I was asking where's your.
Oh, when I say partner, I'm not saying partner.
Are we talking about that?
That statement, your choices add up to your life. Talk about that statement. About 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
I made some shit.
If you shoot somebody, you get caught. It's gonna add up to your life.
If you don't,
Still gonna add up to your life.
I can't. Oh, that's horrible. I need this class.
Hey, talk about that.
So, your choices
that's what tennis class.
You're in there.
Tommy, you don't go get it.
They got it.
What? Everyone's in their group.
What does he say? Josh, you be in our group. What do you think? All the down drop. All the down part.
I was in there. Package. Yellow, black, and yellow.
I meant, I'm talking about. Hey. Yeah, it's just this far.
Small bear.
Where'd you get that from? Like baby gap.
Baby guy. Big guy.
All right,
You get a half off? Stay with half off.
what you guys got? Who's representing each group?
We agree with it. Bunch on that. We didn't talk about it much, but it's like I said, black and white. Like,
Listen up, fellas. Your peers are talking.
yeah, you guys.
Be respectful to your peers.
Oh, well, yeah, your choices do relate, like, they apply to how your life is right now.
Uh-huh.
Like, I bet you everyone has the choice, either coming to Gateway or not. They chose to come to Gateway. This is the lifestyle that Gateway has to offer right now. You would have gone to Chapman Gilbert, but different.
Right.
SEC, different. MCC, different.
Mhm.
We probably think it might be better, but what if they, like, oh, I hate this school.
Now, speaking of that, or speaking towards that, the choices that you made that got you to Gateway, could you have done anything different for you to have gone to a different school, with the exception of just choosing Gateway?
Yeah.
Better grade.
Oh, I think
Better
it's the
grades?
first
Yeah.
one.
Better grades,
Better athlete.
better athlete. How could you have been a better athlete?
Practice hard.
Practice harder. So the choices longer.
More seriously.
Taking it more seriously. So the choices that you guys made somewhat got you here, right? I was in the same, listen up, fellas, I was in the same situation you guys are, and I ended up in junior college for those exact same reasons. I was at Phoenix College, bad grades, mediocre grades. Remember I said I didn't meet this guy, my friend, until I was about 16 years old. Okay? And so by the time you're 16, now you're trying to, make a U-turn in life, because you realize you're going the wrong way. It's kind of, to get that far down, down the road and then try to make that U-turn, that makes that distance that you have to travel that much more further, right? Okay? And it does suck. And this is why I'm here, fellas. I'm here because those, everything that I went through and everything that I experienced, it's made me into the person that I am today. Now, you might say it sucks now. The person that you guys are going to turn out, the people that you guys are going to turn out to be. If I had to speak on behalf of the type of people that you guys are gonna turn out to be, I think that you guys are gonna be able to face adversity better. I think that you guys are gonna understand what it means to come face to face with tough situations. Because the situation that you guys are in right now, especially you guys that are either out of state or out of the area, who might be from like, or New Mexico or wherever, who doesn't have family right here in the Phoenix area, to have to go to junior college, fellas, where there's no dorms and no scholarships and stuff like that, that's tough. To have to maybe have a job and be an athlete and go to school and do homework.
That's what we're going to school.
I went through that. I know what that's like. That's not easy.
And washing your clothes.
And washing your clothes. No, let me tell you, it's real. It's so real, man. I mean, people have no idea.
I didn't know until I moved in with this guy. It was like the worst experience of my life.
Yeah. It's tough. So your mom used to do that. And before you feel like I'm trying to embarrass you, my mother did my laundry all the way until I left home.
My mom still does my laundry.
And I'm so jealous.
You're still at home, man.
I'm so jealous. Let me say something. I'm so jealous because I wish that my mother could have helped me as much as she possibly could have. And I was talking to somebody today. She's actually from New York, but her mother lives out here. And she was like, yeah, my mom helped me do this, this, and this. I was like, oh my God, I wish I had my mom out here. And I'm in my 30s and I wish I had my mother out here. I love to be able to go to her house on Sundays for dinner and stuff like that still.
That's nice.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, what I'm saying is, you guys are experiencing and going through what it means to face challenges and to face adversity. So I believe that you guys are going to be able to understand what it's like whenever you guys get older and you guys come face to face with some of the challenges that you're going to come face to face with, and you're going to be able to walk away victorious. Does that make sense? Because a lot of the stuff that you guys are going through right now is going to develop you guys into the people that you're going to be. And so, let me tell you how much I respect you guys for what you guys are going through right now. Because going to junior college and being an athlete and having to do your own laundry and all that stuff, cook for yourself, and pay your own rent, and work a job,
And wash the dishes.
and wash the dishes, it's tough. It's tough. So I really have a great deal of respect for you guys and everything that you guys are going through. And I don't know that you guys hear that enough. I mean, I'm proud of you guys for the way that you guys handle this challenge that you guys are facing right now. And it's gonna say a lot about who you guys end up being by how you guys get through this. It's gonna define who you guys are in a lot of ways. And you guys that are going on this trip next week to Kansas, let me tell you something. When you get to a university, and you can get to a university in your own scholarship, oh my God, it's night and day. You got scholarship money, they pay for everything, they pay for your food. I loved it when I got my scholarship. Best thing that ever happened to me. I was like, oh, I was so excited.
Where at?
It was in Missouri. I absolutely loved it. And I'm grateful to everything that I went through and everything that I experienced. And you guys should have a greater appreciation when you guys get your scholarship, because you worked your ass off to get it and you earned it. Okay? So, what we're going to talk about real fast, I'm going to fly through this as fast as I can. How does accountability and responsibility apply? How does it apply, and how does it apply to decision making? Responsibility. In order for you guys to hold people accountable, first and foremost, you have to take responsibility for your actions first, okay? Next thing, when we talk about accountability, accountability refers not only to being held accountable personally, but also holding other people accountable. Applying accountability and responsibility, applying those principles to your relationships, to your lifestyle and making it a part of who you are. And then how a lack of responsibility, how that's affecting us, okay? And what we need to do to resolve that challenge, the challenge of decision making, utilizing just 2 simple words with very in-depth meanings, which is responsibility and accountability, okay? So, have you guys heard some of these statements before? Some of the excuses, it wasn't my fault. That's not taking responsibility for your actions. Well, Dick was doing it, okay? You blame somebody else also. Because somebody else was doing it, it was okay for you to do it. There have been times when we've even heard parents say, boys will be boys. And you hear that statement when they don't know what to say about, or when a parent doesn't know what to say, or when a mother doesn't know what to say about the behavior and about the actions of either their husbands or their kids or their boys or whatever. You guys have heard that statement before, right? Boys will be boys, right? Yeah. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Okay? I love that look on your face. It says a lot, but it's not, but.
What's the look you talking about?
This one.
Oh, I didn't even know I had a look on.
Okay.
That's nice.
Accountable. Okay? I talked about this before, guys. I always define words. Words, you know, has there been a time when you guys probably used a word a lot, but then once you really looked it up, you were like, oh wow, that word really, looking up the definition of the word really brought out the true meaning of it? I don't know if that's happened to you before, but it happens to me all the time. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were able to see exactly what the word accountable means. When we talk about that word, and according to Webster, the word accountable means subject to giving an account. Answer, actually, in fact, can you guys write this down for me, please? Just write accountable, subject to giving an account. And you got 2 dots, which are colons, which means answerable. And then you can put another colon, and it says capable of being accounted for. Explainable. And then take a second once you guys write that down, because I wanna touch on that where it says explainable. Have you guys ever heard somebody say, I don't have to explain anything to you? I don't owe you no explanation. Right?
I said, you don't know me.
You don't know me. Yeah, stuff like that.
I'm not with
In my house.
That means that they will not be answerable to anyone. They have a problem with being held accountable. Okay? I don't have to explain anything to you. I don't have to explain myself to you. When you hear someone make a statement like that, fellas, it says a lot about that individual. It says a lot about the character of that individual. Okay?
What if a parent says it to you? Like when you question it, is that different?
You know, from the standpoint of respecting authority, from the standpoint of respecting your mother and your father, and to not to get into a confrontational situation with them.
Right.
I think that one thing that my father used to always say to me is, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So if they open up that door, and for example, my dad said to me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You can say, Dad, Mom, I know you said it's not what you say, it's how you said it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So I really want to say something, and I want to put this as easily as possible, as gently as possible, as nurturing as I possibly can, right? And then you say, then you go into whatever you're going to go into, okay? Because what you have to do is, if you know that that's going to be a touchy situation, you have to segue that, or you have to preface what you're going to say with a statement like, "Hey, one of the things that you said to me is not what you say, it's how you say it. So I want to, this is going to be something that may be touchy a bit. So allow me to. I want to be as gentle as I can. I want to be as nurturing as I can before I say this." Okay, so that might be the best way to approach it. Now, if you end up with a big, one of these big, handprints on your face, careful. Be careful. At least, that may not happen to you, but that probably would have happened to me. I probably would have ended up with a handprint on my face. Now, my question. So that's, when we talk about that whole explainable thing, guys. From accountable, we get the word accountability. The word accountability means the quality or state of being accountable. It's an obligation or a willingness to accept responsibility. There's that word again. Okay, so the word accountability, when we look up the word accountability, you see the word responsibility in the definition of accountability. See what I'm saying? Willingness to accept responsibility or to account for your actions. Okay? So in other words, accountability is a willingness to accept responsibility for for one's actions. That's what that means. So now we go to the word responsible. Okay? Again, according to Webster's Dictionary, write this down. Man, all this writing you could be doing on the paper, you're writing on the cup. Man. I mean, you could be just taking so many notes and you're writing on the cup. I'm just blown away. Unbelievable. Are you guys writing a definition of responsible?
Sir. Of responsible?
Mm-hmm. So according to Webster's, the word responsible means you're able to answer for your conduct, how you conduct yourself. You're able to answer for your obligations. Are you trustworthy? You're able to choose for yourself between right and wrong. That's the definition of responsible. So now when we bring that all together, and when we apply this, when we apply responsible and accountable, when we apply responsibility and accountability, it's and I definitely want you to write down this one, okay? It's the ability to choose for yourself between right and wrong, with a willingness and an obligation to be accounted for any decision and any choice one makes. For example, it's the ability to identify the things that you have to do versus the things that you want to do. And we're going to get into that another time. The things that you have to do versus the things that you want to do. Okay? Make sure that you write down this right here. If you guys don't take anything else with you from the time that we spend together, just take this right here. If nothing else. I think that might be the most serious definition in terms of decision making that you guys, can leave with. Okay. When we talk about accountability and responsibility, I'm gonna change the way that I have gone about this before a little bit. Okay, we have already talked about taking responsibility for your own actions, right? So let's get into accountability and really understand what accountability means. When we talk about accountability, we're talking about holding one another accountable in every way, right? Okay? Also, you being held accountable in addition to holding other people accountable. And we've already discussed that if you don't take responsibility for your actions first, you can't hold somebody else accountable, and in all likelihood, nobody else is going to be able to hold you accountable, right? Everybody in here has relationships with different people, right? Friendships, relationships from the standpoint of, there were guys that I played ball with. We weren't necessarily friends, but we had relationships because anytime you interact with someone, it's some sort of relationship, right? Interaction is, the basic interaction is relational, okay? So, when we talk about that, when we talk about friendship, there's some fundamentals of friendship that I really want you guys to really understand before we get into some of the other stuff. Okay, so everybody has their own perception and their own description of friendship, right? Different people describe friendships in different ways. And a lot of people use the word friend loosely, right? Okay? It's a very loosely used term, okay? But a friendship is something that really shouldn't be used very loosely because of the depth of it, okay? So when we talk about that, some of the things that need to happen in order to have a real friendship and have a solid friendship, okay? And you have to earn the right to be somebody's friend, right? I really want you guys to get this. I don't want you guys to mess around at this point, okay? I really want you to get this. This is critical in order for you guys to be able to hold each other accountable, okay? You gotta earn the right to have somebody's friend, right? To be somebody's friend, right? And they have to earn the right to be your friend, right? Okay? So if that's gonna happen, you have to really familiarize yourself with who those people or who that person is, right? What they stand for, what they believe in, how they go about doing things, how they live their life, the approach that they take, okay? Because can you really say that you're friends with somebody that you don't really know? Not really, right?
Probably doesn't mean.
Not really, okay? So if that's the case, the question that you have to ask is, first of all, you have to familiarize yourself with people, with someone, okay? Your friends, your teammates, your peers. You gotta get familiar with them. You gotta ask questions. We're gonna get into communication another time, okay? But you gotta communicate effectively. It's one thing to communicate, it's another thing to communicate effectively, okay? Or make an attempt at communicating. How much do you know about your teammates or your friend? What do you know about them? Do you know how many siblings that they have? Do you know their parents' names? Do you know if they have a mother and a father that lives at home? Maybe they're out of foster care. Maybe they were adopted. Things like that. So that you can really understand that individual, okay? Sensitive stuff, but in order to really be somebody's friends, you gotta tread that uncharted territory. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? Friendships are built on commonalities, things that you have in common. You ever gone up to somebody, or not gone up to somebody, but you ever start talking to somebody and be like, oh, we got a lot of stuff that we share, that we have in common, right? Okay, that's what makes you guys uniquely, if you will, attracted to each other, if you will, okay? So, commonalities that you share, okay? Friendship is built on commonalities, shared beliefs. You have some of the same beliefs. Similar interests, okay? You're honest with each other. You're sincere with each other. Wanting and expecting the best from one another. Selfless, no hidden agendas. Some sacrifice even happens in friendships. It ultimately develops in brotherhood, okay? You guys have heard the term, are you your brother's keeper? You guys have heard that before? If you haven't, raise your hand and I'll explain it a little more. Okay? So what that means is, am I my brother's keeper? I got a friend who's starting this company, and his slogan for starting this company is called, what your father didn't teach you, your brother will. Okay? What your father did not teach you, your brother will. Okay? And what that means is if we really have a true friendship, and we really have a true relationship, and I really understand what that friend is, and who that friend is, and what that friend believes in, and what that friend doesn't believe in, I'll do everything that I can to look out for that person. You guys got some sort of friend like that? You'll do everything that you can to look out for that friend? Do you guys have a friend who'll do everything that they can to look out for you? Feed you, clothe you, give you money, you feed them, you clothe them, you give them money. Or if you can't, you would be willing to if you were in a position to. Okay? Let them stay at your house as long as they needed to stay there, if they needed a place to stay. Stuff like that. You guys got friends like that?
Yeah.
Okay? If you don't, you need to have friends like that. That's called being your brother's keeper. Not being afraid to say, I love you, man. Okay? And it be not a big deal about it. You know, it ain't all that, you know, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Okay? You can honestly say that to somebody because you lay down your life for that person. If they died, you take care of their kids. If I died, my friend would take care of my kid, my son. Okay? That kind of friend. My dad's best friend that he grew up with since the 5th grade, that ended up moving to Arizona when I was 5 years old. My godfather. Okay, they've been best friends since the 5th grade. When my godfather introduced his wife to his family, he said that he had 3 brothers, and when she actually went to go meet all those brothers, she only had 2 biological brothers, and she asked him, where's your 3rd brother that you always talk about? That was my dad. Not biological brothers, but he was his brother's keeper. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Those kind of relationships that you form with people. Okay? And so I had to lay that groundwork just a little bit so that we can understand really what that means. Okay? So now I'm going to go back. Right now, there's a false sense of reality that goes on, fellas, when we talk about accountability and responsibility and taking responsibility for your actions and different things like that. Society has created a false sense of reality for us. Okay? When you don't take responsibility, it creates a false sense of reality. When you don't take responsibility for your actions, decisions, and choices that you make, you develop a false sense of reality. In fact, people who aren't held accountable and they're not penalized for what they're doing, they're being misled. Okay? Your choices add up to your life, the statement that we started out with. Okay? Those that feel as if they do not have to comply or believe that they are privileged to play by a different set of rules, they create a false sense of reality. Okay? And I'll give you guys an example of that here in a second. Not only for themselves, but for those that watch their every move. Okay? For the people and the youth that watch everything that they do. Okay? One of the best examples of that is I am not a role model. Okay? That was an ad that Nike did, probably when you guys might not have even been born yet. You guys ever heard, write this down real quick, Charles Barkley, Nike, I am not a role model. Look it up on YouTube and play the video. You know the new LeBron commercial?
Yeah, it was not good.
Okay, wherever LeBron was like, I'm not a role model. Wink, wink. Hi, Chuck.
Yeah.
That was Charles Barkley because there was a commercial that Nike did, either in the 90s or the late 80s, where Charles Barkley was saying that he's not a role model. Okay, that's what that means. Okay, that's why LeBron did that. Okay.